We created this little challenge for ourselves, and after we did this for 30 days, we did not recognize our marriage. Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. So today we are going to go over the 3 daily habits that completely transformed our marriage. When we first became parents, we were overwhelmed. We honestly just got into a little bit of a rut where we just had no idea how to manage being parents and prioritize a marriage. So these are the 3 daily habits that completely changed everything. So before we get into the 3 daily habits that completely changed everything, I feel like we should definitely go back in time and talk about just kind of what we were going through when we first became parents and what felt so hard in that season where we were trying to make that huge transition. For you, what was the hardest part about becoming a dad in terms of maintaining the connection we had in our marriage?
I think the hardest part initially was we were both very in tune and driven in our own interests and lifestyle. Although we were together and had very similar interests, we also had so much of our own life. And I think when Georgia came, it was like a big pattern interrupt in our life, in our marriage, because we went from having so much time to ourselves apart from each other to be able to come back and be together, to then we're introducing Georgia into that mix. That created some initial strain on our marriage, and I think it really forced us to have to come together as a team in a new way. That was a little tough to digest in the beginning.
Yeah. It was stressful. I really underestimated how big of a change becoming parents was going to be. You go from being able to do anything you want and just kind of being able to fly by the seat of your pants with your spouse to you're tethered to nap times, and all of a sudden your whole life revolves around trying to get sleep again. The sleep deprivation is so real. I think that alone puts a huge strain on a relationship because you are running on fumes. I mean, we are both sleep lovers. Like,
Oh yeah.
When our sleep got taken away, I feel like that was one of our lowest points because our patience with each other and just our overall ability to pivot and communicate well, I feel like it just went out the window because when you're so sleep deprived, you're just honestly in survival mode. And no marriage is going to completely thrive in survival mode. That's kind of just impossible. So there was a season, especially in the newborn phase, where I just remember we both were kind of a shell of a person. We were so happy to become new parents, and this season of life was so sweet in so many ways. But it was like everything we could do to just manage work and parenthood and surviving that I think we fell into what a lot of parents fall into, where you put your emotional, physical, and even spiritual connection that you used to thrive on the back burner. I know that we were making some time for physical intimacy, but compared to obviously before kids, things changed a bit. And I also think that our emotional intimacy really suffered because of, like I said, the sleep deprivation was so huge. It was just kind of the perfect storm to lead us to feel disconnected.
Yeah, I agree.
We talked to our community over on Instagram, and a lot of people said the same thing, that the first time parenthood journey can be so hard on your marriage, and a lot of couples feel really sad because they were so excited to bring a life into this world, and then it gets so hard and stressful to manage this new normal that the marriage doesn't feel exactly the same as it used to. The good news is, if you have felt any of those things, whether it's a disconnect or kind of a sense of sadness that your relationship with your spouse is not the same as it used to be before kids, we have been able to turn it around, and our relationship honestly feels better than it did even before kids. We did these 3 daily habits in our marriage, and our relationship was unrecognizable in 30 days. First, you are going to carve out 15 minutes of uninterrupted physical touch. This could mean you go all the way together, or this could mean you're holding hands, spooning, cuddling, hugging, kissing, making out, whatever you want to do, but it has to be physical. Research has proven that 15 to 30 minutes of physical touch with your spouse is going to boost oxytocin, and it is going to drastically lower the stress levels. If your relationship is in a hard spot, You might feel like 15 minutes of physical touch with your spouse a day could feel forced, or that could be really hard in this season. But number 2 and number 3 of the daily habits are going to help that physical touch feel more natural. Second, you are going to read 5 pages of the same book with your spouse, or if you're not a big reader, you can always do 15 minutes of the same audiobook every day. But the rule is it has to be the same book. It has to be something agreed upon that you both want to nerd out on. I encourage this to be a nonfiction kind of book because it's easier to nerd out on something like that. But this is going to boost that intellectual intimacy, which I think is something that is so underrated in a lot of relationships. Third, you are going to commit to 15 minutes of uninterrupted, high-quality, heart-to-heart time with your spouse. This is not a time for advice. This is not a time for trying to fix each other. This is a time to really try to connect on that heart level. It's really easy as spouses to get caught in the to-do list and what's on the calendar. That does not count as quality heart-to-heart time. This is a time where you want to get a little deeper, you want to ask each other really good questions, and you want to listen. Listening is the main thing to focus on with the third habit. If you're thinking, I'm a busy parent, I don't know if I can carve out 15 minutes of physical touch and 15 minutes of heart-to-heart time with your spouse, you can always combine those two. So if you want to have a heart-to-heart while you're spooning or cuddling, that is also an option. We created this little challenge for ourselves, and after we did this for 30 days, we did not recognize our marriage.
And if you're really thinking that you do not have enough time to commit to this with your spouse, take a look at your screen time. Take a look at your Netflix time. Take a look at the time that you look at your phone while you're in the bathroom.
A lot of guys need to.
Whatever it is, whether it's you're watching sports or you're just doom scrolling, whatever it is, you can make the time for you and your spouse to really connect. We all have that time. 15 minutes goes by like that.
And a lot of couples are like, what, 15 minutes of physical touch, like that's so easy. And then other couples are going to think that's super hard. Or some couples are going to be like, oh, that's easy. Me and my spouse always have a heart-to-heart every day. But for some couples, they never talk about anything besides something surface level. So everyone's going to have a different challenge in this challenge. But if you commit to all 3 of these things, you're going to see a difference. And it's just one of those things where if you allow yourself to get in the way, you're not going to complete the challenge. But we felt so accomplished after finishing the full 30 days, and we just felt so refreshed, and we felt like we finally prioritized our marriage in the midst of the chaos. And as parents, it's so easy to think we don't have time. But like he said, we always have time, and you will make time for what matters to you. And if your marriage matters to you, then I encourage you to make time for the things that matter, because these things are going to affect you for generations to come. And one of the best ways to love your children is to actually love your spouse, because they're always watching. And a lot of parents get in that trap of, oh, it's only about the kids for this season of life, when in reality, like, that's just not a sustainable way to live, and it's not a sustainable way to keep a marriage healthy. And so we just had to come to a point where we realized that even though life is going to be busier and busier as we're parents, and Lord willing, as we have more children, but it's just, life is never going to stop and get easier. So we might as well make the effort now to put these good habits in place to keep us healthy.
And if you want to partake in the 30-day challenge, head on over to our website at thecasescasa.com. It's a free download, and over there you'll find some more information on exactly how to implement it right into your lifestyle.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We are a new channel, so you subscribing makes a huge difference, and be sure to leave a comment below so we can chat.